Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a fire brings devastation to a local food pantry supply as need for their service remains high due to COVID-19. Meanwhile, we bring you the latest from ongoing protests in Louisville after another officer-involved shooting and reports of people shooting at police. Plus, has your child been asking tough questions about the protests? We talked with an expert on how to handle that situation.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 1 minute after 6 on this Thursday, June the 4th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News This Morning. Well, since last weekend, we have had some beautiful days. It's getting warmer, and that's a bit frustrating for many, but it hasn't been raining. That is until today. Let's bring Brandon in this morning to get a better breakdown. And Brandon, you say there could be a possibility of some severe weather?
Possibility later this afternoon, Will, and good morning to you. We're going to see the possibility for some stronger storms later today. So we'll keep an eye on this for you and keep you posted. Make sure you have a way to get warnings today. Weather radio, there we go. I've got my second cup of coffee brewing over in the kitchen right now. Weather radio or the WIMT weather app. So keep that in mind today. Hopefully you won't need it. You take a look at the Mountain Parkway. We're going to move on to temperatures now, and you'll see those are in the 60s pretty much area wide. Moorhead the exception there at 72, anywhere between about 63 and 69 for the most part this morning across our region. Mid 60s is a popular number there across the area. So iced coffee, I'm going to drink some hot coffee here in a second, but iced coffee if you're heading out this morning, just because the temperatures this afternoon not as hot as it has been the last couple of days, but still right around 84. The humidity will continue to be a thing, and we'll see scattered storms pick up, especially around 2 to 7 o'clock tonight. And some of those could be on the stronger side. We'll track those for you and talk about what we're looking at here in just a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, yesterday, a fire in Pike County destroyed several trucks worth of supplies that a Pikeville food pantry relies on to help the community. WIMT's Buddy Forbes was there as crews worked to put out the flames.
A food pantry at risk of losing everything.
The flames the fire was out of control just really quickly.
Thankful Hearts employees were cleaning up outside of their building Wednesday when what started as a burn pile quickly became something more.
If not for Coal Run's actions getting here fast and starting that containment and getting the other departments here quickly, this could have been a much worse situation. It could have took out the food pantry. There's an adjacent church.
4 trailer loads of food and supplies up in flames.
Devastating. Truckloads of Feed the Children product that we get for emergency food and things like that is gone. Our back to school giveaway that we serve for families in this community, all those school supplies are gone. Just so much. We lost so much.
Supplies that the pantry has been collecting for months to reach out to those in need this summer.
I think last year we served 2,000 families with our back to school giveaway, and we do that every year. And we want to do that this year. And I'm just not sure how we're going to pull it off at this point.
And now they are back to square one.
If we can get back to where we started, that would be a great point for us. We want to continue helping the people in our community.
Trying to get back on their feet.
It could have been a lot worse. We're really thankful that none of our actual buildings were burned.
With Thankful Hearts. In Pike County, Buddy Forbes, WIMT Mountain News.
Now, Thankful Hearts is accepting online donations to help offset the loss. Well, a hi-hat man is dead after a motorcycle crash on Kentucky 122 in Floyd County. Kentucky State Police say just before 2 p.m. on Tuesday, 41-year-old Shane Hall lost control of his motorcycle, hit a guardrail and a utility pole. He was thrown from the motorcycle. Hall was pronounced dead at the scene. Drugs and alcohol are not suspected to be factors in the crash. Well, later today, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam is expected to announce plans to remove the statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. The governor is expected to order the statue be moved from its pedestal in Richmond and put into storage. This follows Richmond, Virginia's mayor announcing he would introduce an ordinance to remove Confederate monuments on city land. The governor's administration says the Lee statue will stay in storage until they get input on a new location. Well, as protests continue in Louisville, police are saying they were shot at on Tuesday night. These pictures show numerous rounds shot at their SWAT truck. You can see bullet holes, this one on the mirror. There were officers inside. They were not hurt. Other parts of the armored truck were struck too. Police were trying to stop looters from breaking into an ATM when they said someone opened fire. This is one of at least 2 other times police have reported being shot at since the protests began. Well, in a news conference yesterday, Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher said that despite those incidents, the protests were mostly peaceful, and officers agree. However, there were at least 20 arrests. Mayor Fisher also addressed the search for a new police chief. He fired the previous chief Monday after learning officers involved in a deadly shooting Sunday night did not have their body cameras active. Mayor Fisher says he's issued a request for proposals for a comprehensive review of the police department.
So this review will focus on a number of areas, including training in the use of force and bias-free policing, as well as accountability, supervision, training, community engagement, and more. The review will also identify any obstacles in implementing changes to improve in those areas.
There was an officer-involved shooting Tuesday night in Louisville. A 25-year-old white man was shot in his home. It is the second shooting in the last 3 days. Meanwhile, 3 officers are getting some national love from the autism community for recovering a horse statue for autism awareness that was stolen by rioters in Louisville Friday night. They found the statue Saturday in a dumpster behind River City Bank on Muhammad Ali Boulevard and 6th. The horse has a bit of damage, like graffiti on it, but it will be repaired. Well, peaceful protests continued last night in Lexington. They started around 8 o'clock. Crowds marched past the police department, chanting many familiar slogans. They also urged people to register to vote and request absentee ballots. Many protesters said they came out because it was personal.
I was a victim of police brutality back in '09, and I feel like that this is a time for us to take a stand together and let it be known that this is not tolerated. We are not animals. We deserve the equal rights as everybody else, and we just can't stand for it anymore.
This was the 6th night of protests in the city. Protesters say they will keep coming until they see the change that they want. Well, protests across the country have gripped the national conversation, but talking about it can be difficult for adults and especially for children. Victor Puente talked to a child psychologist about the effect all of this can have on kids and what's the best way to talk to them about it.
Dr. Catherine Stone tells me that she's had parents tell her their kids came to them with questions about the protests and the police response. She says the best thing you can do is talk to them about it.
We let our kids watch Bambi when they're 2 or 3, right? And the mom dies. We allow our kids to play video games. We take them to movies where there's shooting and death. So when it's fiction, we seem comfortable with it. But when it's real life, we don't feel comfortable.
Stone says younger children, toddlers and early elementary school, probably aren't ready and could be scared by violent images. But older kids likely already have some idea of what's going on.
If you have a preteen and above, they can handle this information, and really they need to learn this. It is okay for our kids to feel discomfort. It's okay for our kids to feel sad, and it's okay for our kids to feel scared. This is when the true learning occurs.
And those uncomfortable talks could help in the long run.
You know, if you look at college campuses right now, there's this concern and complaint that college kids aren't prepared for college, and that even the university counseling centers are flooded with students. And that one thought is that our kids haven't experienced enough distress or adversity because we protected them so much.
Some of those protests have included children. Stone says it's important that parents talk to their kids if they plan to involve them.
So on the way, you talk about, what do you think this is going to be like? What do you think you might like? What do you think you don't like? On the way home, you ask, what did you observe? What was your experience? How did you like? What did you like that occurred? What were you uncomfortable with?
All of this depends on the mental health of your child. You don't want to add to anxiety or depression.
So it's also important that you look at where your kid is if there are some mental health issues. And find the right timing to do that. But just saying nothing is part of what's happening. It's part of the reason that we still have so much repression and so many issues going on today.
Now, Dr. Stone said this is also a chance for parents to recognize their own biases. She says she felt a little uncomfortable herself talking about this as a white person and coming from a place of privilege, but it was an important talk to have.
Mild temperatures once again this morning as we take a look across the region. 65 Irvine, 72 Moorhead, 69 Prestonsburg, 68 Jackson, Pikeville, 64 Harlan, Wise, Middlesboro, 66 London this morning. So again, not too bad, a little humid out there. As we look ahead today, we're looking at those scattered chances for showers and storms that will start to pump up in the heat of the day. Some of those could be strong to severe. Hazy, hot, and humid conditions will continue, even with the storms. And then as we head toward the weekend, we'll see more sunshine start to develop, and we'll clear out briefly as we head into early next week. I'll talk about those extended details and track out those showers and storms hour by hour here in just a little bit. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you, and thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. More news, of course, is on the way. Some of that news consists of we hear from people who gathered in Frankfurt to talk about race relations here in the Commonwealth and across the country.